don't even think we should explain what the Final Deletion is. I
I
think
know.
if you guys don't know what the Final Deletion is, you have to go watch it. It's 17 minutes, and you're either going to think that this is the greatest thing that you've ever seen or a hot ass, boiling, burnt, crisp mess.
Literally burnt.
There's no in between. Cass, which side are you on?
It was ridiculous. It was stupid. It was balls to the
I'm waiting for that
wall,
but.
insane. However,
Oh, however,
I actually found it very entertaining. I actually found it entertaining because even though I still feel as if one of the biggest problems with TNA as of late, they don't like showcase their roster as much. They always have to go to like the former WWE guys. So them going to Matt and Jeff, I kind of felt that a little bit. But actually, once I got through it and I looked past that, I did find it very entertaining. And also, I felt as if I got what I've been wanting from Raw since this 3 hour thing has been going downhill. They were different from Raw and pretty much WWE in general. That's another thing that we always harp on WWE with. They're never different. Like, and TNA, they don't do anything different. Like, what are they going to do different from WWE? And this is them actually going outside of the box. Like, think about it. They didn't even do this in Orlando. They didn't even do this in the Impact Zone. They did this in Cameron, North Carolina, where this was recorded. They did it at night, even though the music was so corny as hell. But that even added to it. That spot where Jeff climbed up on the tree and did that swanton on Matt, and that looked like that legitimately hurt. So yeah, that was fine. Actually, the gardener, Sheldon the gardener,
Senior Benjamin.
Senor Benjamin, he was hilarious. And honestly, this just goes to show you. And I actually thought about this. I think the stuff that Matt's been doing is, like I said, I've been watching this, so I've been knowing what's going on. If you would see what I've been seeing, Jay, I feel as if this has been his best work, even better than his Matt V1 gimmick from '03 when he was in WWE. That's how much I think Matt Hardy has improved. And again, hats off to the Hardys because they're literally still killing themselves for this company that a lot of people. And Jay, let's face it, we're not going to be around the bush. I mean, this is a company that a lot of people, a lot of wrestling fans in general, rightfully so, are just so disinterested in.
Me being one of them. Yep. I want you guys to believe me when I say this. I don't bullshit. I don't think I'm a bullshitter. I try to be as accurate as possible with everything that I say. I try not to speak with hyperbole. So believe me when I say this. This is the greatest thing TNA has ever done. I know for damn sure this is the greatest thing that I've ever seen from TNA. Speaking from my own perspective. Because one issue that I've had with TNA is the fact that I don't have an emotional investment to TNA. I could look at WWE and say I started watching WWE when I was like 9 years old, and you have all of those memories throughout the years of me watching all of those things and, you know, being in that moment where I'm just so captivated by what is happening on screen. This was one of the very few times that I've actually been captivated by what's been unfolding on WWE TV. It was, TNA. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
It was a hot ass mess. It
Yep.
was all over the place, unexplainable. But I loved it. I honestly did love it, and I feel like I want to. You know what? I'm standing up right now and giving TNA a fucking standing ovation because this was so innovative, and not in a sense where it's like Shakespeare or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying it's Shakespeare at all. It's just that they tried something different, and they did it to get eyeballs on the product. And from what I've heard, like, I read different wrestling blogs and things like that. From what I've heard from people with opinions that I trust, you know, they watched the whole episode of Impact, and they said the great thing that they said the great thing that they did is that they had this be the hook that brought people in, and they had other stuff on the show for people to look forward to as time goes on. And that's like the best that you could possibly ask for, because you don't want this to be one thing where it's like, oh, hey, everybody, tune into this, and then next week we're going to go back to being shit. Like, you have to have some reason for people to keep coming back. And I'm going to watch that whole episode of Impact just to see myself if that's what they actually did. And if it is, I mean, their innovation, their experimentation, they may have just won themselves a new viewer.
One thing that you really need to take away from this, Jay, I think we can both say and agree here, this right here was 10 times better than Raw this week.
See,
from an entertainment standpoint.
Can I just say this? Because I've been kind of quiet on this. I see a lot of people trashing Raw. I didn't think Raw was as bad as everybody else thought it was.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
yes, it was.
We'll get to that after we wrap up this whole TNA conversation. But this is something that I want to see more often in wrestling. I'm not necessarily saying that we need to see, the Final Deletion every week. I want to see more experimentation with different art forms, because that's essentially what wrestling is. Wrestling is an art form, and I'm not a traditionalist in a sense that everything has to be in this structured way where it's match, and so wrestling heavy and things like that. Be a little cinematic with it. Be a little experimental. Exactly, and I'm quite sure that that's where TNA, they got a bit of inspiration from. They got a bit of inspiration from Lucha Underground with this whole Final Deletion thing, and I think that's amazing. I love it. And the thing is, when I say that I love experimentation, you do have to accept the risk that sometimes it's gonna fail, and I'm okay with that, because you do need to do that experimenting just to get outside of your comfort zone, break the fucking status quo. I've been complaining about that for years in wrestling. Break the status quo. Sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to succeed. But I think that those successes and finding out different ways to do things and different ways to excite people and different ways to tell stories, that's worth it. It's definitely worth it. And it paid off for TNA in this situation.
Yeah, real quick before we end on this note, I do worry though, because like I said, I've seen it, and if they go back to the same stuff they've been doing before this, it's really gonna hurt them, because it's like they did this so well that, here's the thing, that production value, how long do you think it took them to do that? It probably had to take them so much. Like, we talk about consistency when it comes to WWE. TNA, for all intents and purposes, they do good consistency, but it's not at WWE's level. Mm-hmm. However, how are they going to top this to keep people in? But like I said, that's just my one concern. But yeah, good stuff this week.
I hope that question that you just asked, that's the question that they're asking of themselves too, because you have someone here who just admitted, like, I cannot tell you the last time I watched a full episode of Impact, but I'm going to go back. I'm going to watch this full episode, and I'm going to watch the full episode from next week. And the question that they have to ask themselves is, how do you keep a person like me around? Because if I look, and I'm not saying that they have to be innovative every week, flying all over the fucking world and doing all of this crazy shit. You just got to be good enough. Like, you got my eyeballs, you got my attention right now. How do you keep it? How do you keep it?